Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's so great to be back here doing videos or making videos for you. This is finally part 2 of the log splitter project. It's been a while since we completed part 1, and that's because both myself and my family, we were away for a couple of weeks on vacation. We had a chance to go out in nature and do some camping with our truck and trailer. We came back revitalized and refreshed from that whole experience, and we're ready to get back into finishing projects and also starting new ones. So with that, you'll see at the tail end of this video the actual operation of the wood splitter. We just split some 12-inch logs. This machine works fantastic. I think we finally got this thing set up so that we can really get through the work quickly and efficiently. So you'll either see that just a little bit later on in the video. But before we get into the operation of the machine, I'd like to just spend a few minutes just to give a general overview of the main components for our log splitter. So this is a PTO powered wood splitter, meaning that it relies on the power takeoff, or PTO for short, from the tractor. So the tractor has a shaft that you can actuate on the dashboard, and it will rotate at a given speed. So this tractor will rotate at 540 RPMs per minute, or revolutions per minute. So therefore that power from the tractor is then transferred via this dry shaft, okay, all the way to this component right here. So this component is a transmission. It was a transmission that was taken off a truck, and the reason for that is the revolutions, or the speed of this shaft, is increased. So it goes from 540 revolutions per minute coming from the tractor to the input side of the transmission, and then it is then stepped up through gears, internal gears in the transmission, to a higher rotation, or a higher RPM. And that RPM, or that output shaft, is right here. So as one revolution of this shaft would equal 2.5 times, or 2.5 revolutions in this shaft. So therefore the RPM is then stepped up. Okay, so this output shaft then turns a hydraulic pump, which is right here. So this unit right here is essentially a gear pump, and what it does is that it pulls in, gravity fed, pulls in hydraulic oil, which is stored in a reservoir right here. So in a perfect world, your inlet to your hydraulic pump should be located low in or at a low position. Maybe not the lowest position, but at a low position in your tank. It just so happens that this one is slightly high from the bottom of the tank. So as a consequence, I had to ensure that my hydraulic oil was filled to a high level, so that my pump never runs out of oil. Okay? So therefore, hydraulic oil is then drawn into the low pressure side of the hydraulic pump. The gear inside is turning, and what it does is that it pressurizes that oil and sends it out through the high pressure side of the pump. Okay, so then that compressed oil then enters what you call a valve body, and this valve body is relies on an operator input. So if I do this with the control lever, what I'm asking the high pressure oil to go is to travel into the valve body, and I'm asking it to go out a given port to do work. And in this case, I'm sending pressurized oil to enter the hydraulic cylinder on this side, which is then pressurizing this side of the hydraulic cylinder, and it's forcing a piston inside. Okay, and that piston is therefore connected to a ram. Okay, so when I go like this with the control valve, I'm essentially diverting that pressurized oil to force the ram to come out. And then, as you saw in the video, or you'll see in the video where we're splitting wood, this ram, which has this, you know, pusher block, then pushes the lumber against a cutting blade or a cutting surface. So right here, see, this is sharp. And what happens then is that it forces the wood to travel and get split by this cutting surface. Okay? Now, once you've split the wood by doing this operation, by moving this lever back, I'm no longer sending pressurized oil to extend the ram. Instead, I'm now asking the pressurized oil to enter this side of the ram. So the complete opposite side of the cylinder. And what's happening now is that the pressurized oil will then force against the opposite side of the piston, and what it will do is it will push the ram back into the cylinder. All right? Now, another important aspect is when there's no operation, when there's no operator input. So that means that the tractor is running, the transmission is running, the pump is pumping. That oil has to go somewhere when I'm not asking it to extend out the ram or to retract the ram. So the valve body, what it does is that it circulates the oil. So instead of just pressurizing the system to a point where the oil has nowhere to go, the oil goes through a continuous loop. And maybe I'd like to show you a very important aspect of this. So that oil will then come out through the valve body here. It will go through a filter. So it's very important that that hydraulic oil be kept clean and free of any foreign material or any contamination. So there's a filter media inside, like a paper media, like most likely like you have on an automotive style. And then that oil then travels through the filter. Any debris is picked up in the filter media, and the clean oil or the oil is then circulated back to the return to the reservoir. So therefore it does a continuous loop until I actuate, or I tell the valve, or I do a manual input to the control valve, and then I redirect the flow to actuate the cylinder. Another version that you may see, which is not PTO powered, is one that's self-driven by a small, 7, 8, 9 horsepower gasoline engine. So the gasoline engine would be built or installed directly onto the frame of the wood splitter, and at the end, or the output shaft of the motor, would drive the hydraulic pump, but you'd still have a reservoir, you'd still have a valve body, a ram, or a cylinder. So depending on what your preference is, whether you have a tractor already and you want to use the PTO, or you don't have a tractor and you don't want to buy a tractor but you still want to split wood, then you can always energize or always power your hydraulic system without a tractor, but maybe a standalone gasoline engine.